Good morning, everyone. How are you today? Hey, Anna. Sandy is here. SHWA. That's a tough name to pronounce. That's as tough as my last name. Nancy is here. Good morning, Ismael. Anna, how are you? I saw your picture on Facebook, Anna. It looked really good. And Paul, how are you? Alessandro, Sabi, Ann Carr. C. Morsha, Lelina, Dana, Aura. How are you guys doing today? Good to see you all here. Had a party last night for my daughter's graduation. It was like this mock graduation at the school. We were there for like less than 2 minutes and we left. She just got her graduation, took a couple pictures, took our masks off immediately, and then we just kind of drove home. So we were in the car for about 2.5 hours, and the graduation ceremony was, hey, Renato from Italy, was about 5 minutes. So everybody came over last night. We were hanging out in the backyard. So way too much food, way too much dessert, way too much everything. So last week, Marie had asked me about drawing a guy. And I said, sure, I have no problem drawing guys. I love drawing guys, and it's a lot of fun. And usually in my classroom, every other week we have a female, and every other week we have a male. Jean Philippe, how are you? Felice, Core, and Gabrielle. Marie, there's Marie. So I said, sure, I'll draw a guy this week. We'll do all male review. The problem with YouTube and full frontal I have no problem drawing full frontal nudity of a guy, but YouTube certainly does. So there's no way I'm going to have a full frontal nudity photo of this guy because I think my video will kind of get banned. So I think this is kind of a tame video, and I can teach you guys some good things with this. When I picked this photo, there's a lot of good things that I can talk about with this photo. It may not be like the most interesting view of the male model, but I think it's good for YouTube. Again, I'm trying to follow along with YouTube's rules so I don't get banned and all of that fun stuff. Hey, Frankie J from Wheeling, West Virginia. I see you signed up to the website. I hope that you're going through the Begin Here step-by-step course, and I hope, Jewel Fee from Germany, that you're going to upload your work this weekend to the member critique gallery so I can critique it on Monday. Okay, so now, hey, Carol, now that we've got the male nudity and YouTube rules out of the way, this guy that you're seeing here on the screen, his name is Forrest, from Sydney, Australia. Coustro, Fraser, all from Paris. Hey. This guy within the members area, I worked with him for a year in the classroom. Like, I booked him a lot. He's just a wonderful person. And I have tons of photos of this guy in the members area on the website. So, and there's tons of frontal views of him. So if you want to take some of the techniques that I teach you here today and apply them to drawing a frontal view and then just upload into the member critique gallery, I'd be more than happy to critique your artwork, okay? So let's get to it. And we got a good group of people here today. So I just took a second here to sketch this out. And let me show you how I did this. If you want, I'll draw it from scratch, but I wanted the camera to have something to focus on. So when I picked this pose, I saw a whole bunch of things. Okay, I feel like my head is getting in the camera here. How am I going to do this so my head's not in the camera? Hey, Joseph. It'll be in the camera a little bit. Like, my arm is like totally, see my arm, how it's stretched out like this? I don't know what happened. I think I mucked with my camera a little bit. So just don't mind my top of my head. I know it's not the most beautiful top of the head, but okay. So I started here, okay, his round back. I really kind of, when I looked at him, I really saw that immediately. And then I came on down and I saw this with the center line immediately. Okay, so it's really this. We talked about angles last week, so if we can follow through. I want this drawing to be a little rougher. I don't want to do like a finished drawing today. I'm in the middle of doing a finished drawing, so this one's just going to be more of like a technique learning type thing. The lean to the left is good. Okay, cool. So this angle, this angle, this angle, and then center line. Okay, so this is what I saw first. Around upper back, just like that. Very gestural. Then this angle, this angle, this angle to the center line. Which side of the glutes is higher than the other. Okay, and then I saw some information with his lower back over here. And I'm just immediately trying to place the center line. And there's a little tonal shift right there. Okay, so what did I do after that? Well, after that, I kind of just did a quick gesture line for this leg. And you can see I did one here, I did one here. I was trying to figure it out. So gesture line, and I certainly drew his legs together. So after I drew the butt, after I drew that round part of the back, established a center line, then it's just a matter of, okay, let's dive into this one little area here, and let's try to draw his leg. So his leg starts here, not at the center line of his butt. It starts here. And if you just isolate his leg, it's kind of really small right over here compared to the rest of the pose from the back of his knee to the bottom of his butt. It looks really small from this point of view. So it's just this opposite C. I'm combining a whole bunch of different techniques. This is going to be a real technique style drawing. Okay, and then opposite C for the inside of the knee, and then opposite C for the back of the lower leg, and then just a quick angle down to where the heel is. So as soon as I get down over here, you guys know what the deal is. You say, hey, hold your pencil straight out just like this, okay? And what is right above his heel? So if I hold my pencil straight out and I kind of go, it's the center of his neck. So most of the weight is really, so center of the heel, bear with me. Yeah, center of the heel, center of the neck. So that is how I'm going to get this guy, Forrest, this male model, to stand on his left foot because his left foot is bearing all of the weight. So now when I look at the drawing on the video monitor, it's a little top heavy. Okay, so I can counterbalance that just by going a little bit longer with that foot, but I don't want to do that just yet. I'm not ready to commit. I can always chisel a little bit off the top. So we have that. Let's go down to that angle, then this into this angle, looking at both of his legs together. Notice how I'm not even outlining this leg over here. I'm just looking at the width of these two legs together. So this is going to kind of come on down. We're going to cruise on down over here. And now his toes are kind of hitting with the fabric. I know it's kind of hard to see there. So I'm going to just do this. I'm going to gesture. I'm going to connect heel toe, just like that. And that's a great way to kind of plant the model on the ground. Don't know if I love that, but let's keep going. Let's not get too crazy with it and make it be all perfect. So I'm going to bring the gluteus medius to the right a little bit. Okay, I feel like I'm sitting in a lounge chair. I need like a beer or something like that. I had this disgusting beer last night. It was lime. Yeah, not good. So now I've got him down from head to toe. So when I come back over here, I'm really seeing that where his arm begins, where his torso ends, and I say, hey, what is right below that? Okay, and I can hold my pencil out, arm straight. It's way to the left. And so now I'm just going to say, oh, this arm kind of looks straight up and down to the elbow. This forearm is tilted in. This hand is below his butt. And then I kind of connect both hands with an imaginary measure line. And these fingertips are slightly higher than these fingertips. Okay, so I have that. This shoulder right over here is lower than this shoulder. So the hands and those shoulders kind of sync up. That's cool. Okay, now what is right below where his torso stops and the arm starts, this little line over here? What's right below that? So if I pull an imaginary line down, but I'm going to just hold my pencil out. Actually, I want a longer brush because it's actually pretty long. So what is right below? It's his ankle. Okay, so I'm going parallel with my piece of paper, so I'm holding that out. So this ankle should be, can I do a line that is straight down, parallel to the paper? Yes. So right there is his ankle. So we're pretty good with that. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Now let's start up at top over here, and perhaps I'm going to kick the neck to the right. I'm not even going to consider drawing his facial features just yet. I'm just going to do a quick line for the angle of front of his face, and Bubba's barking because that's what he likes to do when I do a live stream. So just a couple of angles there for Forrest's head. That's a tongue twister when you say Forrest's head. Okay, David Wade, how are you, David? I'm doing good. Let me see here. Okay, cool. So that's how I would begin. I would do stuff like that. Now, let's talk about some different things. So this arm, totally, if this is where I think his underarm area is, and we come on down the torso, and we come around the gluteus medius, tensor fasciae latae area. I love the name of that muscle. It sounds like a comedy show, tensor fasciae latae. And then deltoid. And I'm just going to do a little bit of continuous line. I'm not worried about perfection here today. So that is my, how long have we been doing this? I've been talking a lot. That's my 10-minute kind of go through. Okay. So in 10 minutes, this is where I would want to be. And yeah. Well, Ann Carr, I'm happy that you're letting us know that you're a very young artist. Awesome. Sandy, how are you, Sandy? Sandy with an I. Okay, so now let's talk about something different. Let me resharpen that pencil. And so for me, one of the reasons why I picked this view was because it wasn't full frontal nudity, and I don't get kind of banned from YouTube for that. But like, there's a lot of cool things, and I can inject a little bit of perspective in here in a moment. But what I saw immediately was this, pencil's a little too sharp for this, but let's just do it anyway. This line that separates is where the back of his body kind of syncs up with the side of his body. And I this is pretty cool right over here. And what I liked about it is that I saw a definitive shadow shape where the front meets the side, and that's because when I photographed Forrest, I put form light on him. And so immediately now we shade and we feather away, and what we have, which is really cool, is now we have the side of him. So we have the back and we have the side. And somebody had asked me a couple weeks ago and last week about perspective. So technically, this would be the back of him, and this would be the side of him. So that would be the box in perspective. Okay, this would be the bottom of his butt, and that would be the back plane of his butt, the box, and then this would be the side plane of him, the box. Do you guys see how that works? Hey, Aries. So that's a big reason why I chose this. Now, this technically, if I could do this properly, needs to be a line like that. And I'm not a big fan of drawing boxes here, but I thought this was a good learning pose, a good tool for learning. Now, let's just kind of pile on some other things. Now, what we also see, and this one's actually kind of hard, but if you go to the back of his lower leg where it syncs up with this lower leg, the gastrocnemius over here, okay, so the butt comes down and hamstring. Sorry for all the double entendres in the email this morning that we were going to draw a guy, but it was going to be from the back view. So this is where now we have the back plane of his leg, even though the whole leg's in shadow, and the side plane. So I'm just going to do it at a different angle so you can see. So that's kind of how I think about the back of his leg. I totally think about the back of his leg as a box. Now, I just drew the back of his leg too long because his lower leg is so much longer, because this leg is going away from us, the viewer. So technically I need to raise this up tremendously, and that's the side plane. But the whole thing is in shadow. So it's very difficult to see those surface planes, but I just wanted to share that with you. So we'll just kind of cruise on up. So now we have that shadow side, okay? Now what else can I share with you here that will help you? This is kind of turning into a little bit of a surface planes male figure drawing. So now also, bottom of the hair, we can lower it. So his spine. So his spine, cervical vertebrae here, 7th cervical vertebrae. Then the upper back angle, and then the mid-back angle. So there's that beautiful S-curve, sacrum, and it rolls around. It's not too extreme. It's not crazy. But you see where I kind of drew this box, this line that's not there on the pose? That's where it shifts from this curve. So it's a true S-curve over here. Really fun to do. That center line is important. I'm not saying you need to draw it like that, but it's important that you acknowledge that, hey, there's a central line. I got to get that in. So I'm going to kick his leg over to the left. I'm just looking. Okay, cool. And now we're going to shoot down, angle down. So I'm just going to try to push the drawing a little bit for you. This center line of this guy's butt, I hope he's available to work again. He was available for about a year. Sometimes the models will work with you and then they just get a show that they get hired to be in and they disappear, because that's really their priority, is dancing and performing and that type of stuff. At least the models I work with. So a little shadow shape over there. Okay. Notice how I'm not dealing with the hands. Notice how I'm not really dealing with the feet just yet. I'm just trying to focus in here on the core. Okay, so we have some really cool things. We have our line that separates, and where our line that separates is kind of like where the front plane touches the side plane. And then we're going to wrap around the sphere of the glute. Okay, let's just shade this a little bit more. I don't want to lose the box. I kind of like it there. I could, let's see, is this eraser good? Let me use my kneaded eraser. Okay, cool. I want to fix this mistake because it's gross. Fix that. Rub with the hands, and that all just kind of goes away. Okay, cool. Now, let's push this a little bit more, okay? Now, I'm going to come on down. And this is, like I said, a technique drawing. Now, Forrest is a dancer, so his lower legs are massive. Okay, you can see right over here. Now, this makes an oval, lower legs. You can see it over here. This makes a massive oval. Would I draw that oval on my drawing? No, I would not. But again, I'm just trying to show you some things that I think about when I draw. So that's going to go like that, in to the Achilles tendon, back of the heel. And I'm going to go with the longer leg, even though his leg is a little bit shorter. I'd rather have it longer. Now, his foot is foreshortened. So whenever there's something that is foreshortened, there's a whole bunch of series of half circles. So this, I don't even know if you can see this, it's so small, is a half circle. His ankle is a little triangular shape. I'm trying to simplify everything here for you today. I don't want to do a finished drawing. I want to do a technique drawing for you. So into the heel, kicking out that, I'm sorry, into the ankle, not the heel. And now his toes, you can probably barely see them. For members of DTO, if you go to the bottom of the dashboard after you log in and you go to photo references, not the online pose, and then you go to back views of Forrest, you'll be able to get this photo. It's all there. You can download the PDF and the photos right there. So his toes are just making a shape like that. Again, just trying to be really primitive. Now I'm going to switch gears, okay? And I'm going to look at the negative space. I haven't looked at any negative space just yet. So let's get in this. That needs to be higher. He has a very, very long. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. I'm lifting that up. He has an extremely long Achilles tendon into the heel. The heel gets fairly close to the other leg. Angle, ball of the foot. It's almost touching. I can barely see. It needs to be over to the left. I'm sorry, to the right. So I'm using a little bit of chicken scratch here this morning. Do you see this? I'm not being graceful. We'll go over it and we'll make it a little bit more graceful after. So that leg is not a good leg, okay? It's too thick. We see it immediately. We'll fix it. Let's just leave it for now, and let's move on. So let's leave that section and let's digest it. Let's live with it for a little bit. And now I'm seeing that, wait a second, this needs to be over. Okay, let me just see. I want to make sure that I'm not missing anyone. Hey, Aries. The model's name is Forrest, Forrest. I don't have his social media. You know, Forrest, I'll have to look. I forgot his last name. I'll have to try to remember it. I have his email. I'll touch base with him. And if I find it, I will post it under the video. So I'm talking to you, Ronan Guts. I'm talking to you. I will post it under the video. Will I do it exactly when I'm done with the video? No, but I'll do it today. I promise. Okay. So, because I'd be curious too if he has a social media. I haven't spoken to him in over a year. So this, what's the angle of this arm? It's not quite straight up and down. Angle of the hand. We talked about this last week in the live stream where we call this the envelope or the angles. So I've got those angles. Now I'm looking at the distance from the bottom of the hand to the kneecap area. And then I'm looking at the bottom of those fingers. So now let's very quickly here do our line that separates. Okay, so we're just going to around the deltoid, around the tricep, establish the elbow. There's a little negative space in between the arm and the body. And let's come on down. And we could do a diagonal pencil stroke. Diagonal pencil stroke, all the way down. The entire hand is in shadow. Let's just block that in. Cool. Okay, so now this, we're going to look at the negative space. Okay. Negative space. That means the arm, he's huge, so deltoid tricep needs to come out. Get the elbows established so there's the tilt of the elbows as well. Okay, because everything is tilted upper body. Now, I could just gesture down. There needs to be more negative space to the thumb area, and that means this needs to be thicker. Yeah, no. Yeah, you could make your sex joke like internally. That would be fine. Okay. So you see how he's blocked in? Okay, Aries, thanks for joining us. Have a great day. So now I'm going to shade. Okay, and shade the hand. So that's a pretty cool block in, very technique-y drawing. Let's do a little bit more with the surface planes. Let me resharpen here. So this now is going to be more of a top plane facing the light. There's a lot of light hitting that aspect of his upper back. And car. Yeah, it's fun. Figure drawing is fun because people are pretty much in everything. Now, let's pay a little attention to his trapezius. Over here. Curve it around. And this trapezius is lower. Good. Kick out the deltoid. And being very rough today with all this. Now let's deal with the head. Okay. The head is partially in shadow. So I'm just gonna look at how do I. Here's a good question. How do I get the head on the body? So it's on the body and it looks good. Basically, I look at the negative space in between the jaw / chin and the shoulder. So I get that negative space. And then I just put an angle for the front of the face. His nose is kicking out a little bit over there. And then I say, hey, what is right below the tip of his nose? The tip of his nose is to the left of his little underarm area over here. And this needs to be thicker. Chicken scratch, chicken scratch. Now, forehead. So now I can do the same thing. Hey, what is right below the back of his hair? The back of his hair is to the left of this leg here. Okay? So if I do that, his head, it's reasonable because I don't know if I have the lower leg in the right spot exactly. So yeah, I could put it right here. Maybe we can make his neck slightly thicker. Angles. Okay. It's very awkward drawing like this when you lean back. Now, let's erase this mess out. Now, that eraser is not a good eraser. So let me use this. Hopefully I didn't, I just kind of destroyed the paper with that bad eraser because I didn't test it first. So I'm going to go over, and that's as good as it's going to get. Well, that really stinks. So lesson to be learned. Always double check your Col-Erase erasers to see if they're going to erase. Sometimes you see what that just did? It left a little bit of a mark on my paper. At risk of destroying the paper, I'm just going to be a brute. And that's, I'm stuck with that. Okay, so always test the Col-Erase eraser. Okay, now I'm going to do shape of hair. I thought you were at least going to do some tough biker or something. Oh, God. Well, this guy, Forrest, could pretty much beat the crap out of anyone. For a fact, I can say that for a fact. So let's shade the hair. Now, once we shade that hair, his head is kind of small compared to the rest of the pose, right? Yeah, Paul, you're right. Absolutely. Did you get this guy's parents' permission that he could be out this late? Well, it's early here. It's 10:29 in the morning. Well, not too early. So now let's do very rough eye socket shape. People, this is a very small head, about an inch tall. And we are just going to do it as a shadow shape for now. Okay, how do you get the head in relationship to the body? You take these measurements that come straight down, measurements that come straight down. Look at the negative space. Notice how I didn't even draw the ear. The ear is kind of an important thing, but I'm not giving it too much attention here today. Now, something doesn't feel right to me, and it's probably because my head is miles away from this. So at risk of looking terrible here on YouTube, I'm just going to get my head into the video just a little bit so I can raise up. Make this solid. Okay, and this whole side of his face. Cool. The ears on this little guy, I'm not going to go too crazy with them here today. I'm going to keep it. There's other things I want to talk about besides the ears. I would save that for more of a portrait tutorial. Just shade that. Okay, so what else could we add to this? Let me... let's fix this leg. Okay, so we have our... Now let's start to come on down and be a little bit more graceful. So his oblique over here. Let's go over this line. So, Paul, you see what I'm doing here? How I'm going over that line multiple times? That's what you need to do with your edges. So your edges, Paul, last week with the coaching video were hard, like we talked about. Now this butt needs to be wider on this side. So I'm going to kick it to the right. This is how I would go over my edges this way to make my edges more graceful. Go over it again, more graceful. Top to bottom, go over it again, make it darker. Now, let's make this... Yeah, totally. Yeah, the head is kind of small. If you look at his head in the photo compared to his entire body, with the fact that his face is in shadow, it kind of really looks small. Okay, so let's make this solid one more time. All the way down. See what I'm doing, guys? I'm just... all the weight is on my hand. I'm just doing my diagonal pencil stroke. We've talked about this many, many times before on the live stream in the past. I'm trying to get rid of all of the white paper to make this a solid shape. And you guys know what I'm talking about if you've been with me for a while. One of the most important things all the way down. Okay, and now... let me not use this eraser again. Let me use this eraser, which is doing a great job. And I'm going to lift up the lower leg. I'm going to erase that out. Good. Now, let's create a little bit of an optical illusion that this lower leg's a little bit skinnier. A line that separates over here. And angle in, angle out. Make this lower leg skinnier. We don't want the lower leg to be thicker than the upper leg. That's just more of a common sense approach to figure drawing. Okay, good. Now, I'm just going to do a longer vertical stroke here. Good. Now let's be resharpen. Looking for questions here. Yeah, perspective is just what you want to be aware of with perspective is where is the camera, or in other words, where is your head? And when I photographed him, camera was probably right here in the middle. So the reason why you want to be aware of that is for foot placement and the angle of his foot going up in perspective. That's what I think about. Like if I was going to draw a hardwood floor, if he's on the hardwood floor, how would the hardwood be going? Okay, in perspective, so you get that model on the floor properly. Part of that isn't even in the video. I apologize for that. So, yeah, so that is my kind of quick sketch. Now, what's the lightest light? Upper back, top of the butt. So this part of his back starts to become a little bit darker because it's turning under. It's an underplane. So I'm just going to have fun here and shade that. Okay. Now, this arm technically should not be as light as his upper back. So I'm just going to tone it down. Just like that. And this thing, we can kick it out. Come on down. Kick that out. And his forearm from the elbow down is not as light. So you always want to ask yourself the question, where's the lightest light? Up here, okay, at the scapula area. So everything else starts to get a little bit darker. I'm being very soft. Okay, this now, let's get in the side plane of his leg. And this hamstring starts to roll under. So you can do a vertical stroke like this and curve it around to help show that his leg is starting to turn under. Yeah, I understand. I'm not going to go too long on this live stream today. I just want to do a quick sketch. Okay, let's come on in. And let's cruise down. Again, we have that oval there. And our Achilles, I know this is probably very hard to see because it's kind of small. And I'll be right back. I got to go get the dog. She's crying at the door. All right, Truffs. Come here, Truffs. All right, Truffs is going to do a little sketching here today. Yeah, Truffs, you ready to draw? Okay, let's do it. Let's shade the leg. Your paw is soaking wet. You've got to be kidding me. So her paw, she was running out in the backyard. So let's just do like a little bit of shading. Okay, let's do a little background shading. You looking out the window, Truffs? Okay, so all right. So say hello to everybody on YouTube. You're soaking wet. What were you doing in the backyard, Truffs? Huh? Are you chasing somebody? No? All right. Go sit down before you cover me with white hair. Yeah, nothing like a soggy dog. Sprinklers are on, so there she's soaking wet. Let's do a couple more surface planes here. So the bottom, now that I'm covered with hair, gotta love it. Okay. The hazards of a white dog. You know, if you have a black car, Truffle's hair gets in the black car and it's there forever. So let's just do a little bit of an underplane. I can't even see his toes. So if I was working on this not on video, I would be zooming in to the photograph that I have in front of me. We could make this a little bit skinnier. And this whole side, this whole part of his foot. So here's another thing that you guys can also, what is lighter, his upper back or his lower leg. So you can also do this thing where his legs start to get a little bit darker. Because the way that I set the light up, there's a gradation in the light. And this is how you really start to create atmosphere with your artwork. And he becomes one with the environment. And now also what is happening is a lot of those mistake lines kind of go away. Okay? And we can just do a little bit of shading over here. And that's kind of cool as well. So let's push the values a little bit more. Just looking to see. I don't animate, but I teach animation students, yes. What I teach animation students is how to draw. How to draw people, how to draw portraits, how to draw hands, how to draw things in perspective, how to draw composition, how to draw clothing, how to draw animals, pretty much how to draw everything. That's what I do for animation students. And then I also teach them about how I feel how they should handle themselves as a business and as a brand, thinking about that at a very young age. So there's a lot to teach, and I let the animation teacher teach them how to animate. So I just did a pre-college 3-week stint. I was the first week of the 3-week class. And there was me, the drawing teacher, and then there was the animation teacher. That eraser sucks, so we're not going to use that one again. Fall into that trap. Okay, I'm in the weeds right now. I got to get out of the weeds because I'm going to bore you all to death. So does anybody have any questions? This just needs to be so much thicker. Yeah, I get you. I understand now. Yeah, I wrote in my email that YouTube just absolutely hates full frontal nudity of especially the guy. And the photos that I have on the website of Forrest are full frontal nudity, and you see the world, and YouTube doesn't like to see the world. They ban you when you see the world. I definitely don't want to get banned. Okay. So let's be a little bit more painterly here and tonal. And I'm just going to sketch tone in. So now what we have is his scapula. Back muscles kind of wrapping around. Bottom of the rib cage, stuff like that. Lat muscle. Scapula. They're going to tilt as well. Okay. Now, I don't know where else to take this thing for you guys. It's just more of like a demo drawing. Let's just chisel out a couple of other areas. Convex line. So let's incorporate some S-curves. What's up, Mecha Art? I'll tell you, it's convenient when the eraser does work because you can just flip the pencil instead of going to a different eraser tool. It's so much faster. Let's just come on down here, establish the side plane. Does anybody have any questions? Because I don't know how long I'm going to go today. Fig leaf, yeah. Okay, angle down. quick angle in. So no, it's it's a Col-Erase pencil, Prismacolor Col-Erase pencil. It's in the description below. Maybe I'll draw hands in the next one. I don't want to commit. I'll sketch these hands out a little bit. I'll show you how I would angle them out. So this hand, okay, so I'm going to bone, the ulna, angle, fingertips, angle. I can draw a little gerbil, no doubt, and let's see. Wouldn't be a gerbil if he didn't have chubby cheeks. Same thing, everything is round. I don't know if gerbils have big ears or small ears. Yeah, there's my gerbil. How many of those figures I should draw a day to improve fast? It's not about how many you draw a day. It's about practicing different techniques and isolating the different techniques, because we can draw this guy in like 10 different techniques. So you got to know what techniques to draw. So we can draw him in the rough skeleton. We can draw him 3 shapes to make up the pose. We can draw him with the angles and the measurements. We can draw him in a gesture pose. We can focus on model and form. We can draw him in just form. So it's not about how many figures you draw over and over, because somebody can draw like 30 figures in a couple of hours, but maybe all those figures are going to be wrong because they're not practicing the techniques to get the figures better. Now, and then it comes down to what specifically do you want to get better with in terms of drawing the figure? Do you want to get better at gesture drawing, modeling, long duration drawings? Do you want to get better at practicing tone? Do you want to get better at practicing line? Do you want to inject more anatomy into it? Okay, so don't fall into the trap of that you got to draw and draw and draw. It's about drawing and isolating certain techniques and just practicing those techniques over and over again. Okay. So, so the technique I did here today, this is a demonstration style drawing. If I was going to draw in my own style, what do I have under here? I have a scrap piece of paper. Let's move this, as I'm pretty much done with that. So when I draw in my own style, everything is round and curvy. We talked about this last week. Okay, this paper is just demolished here. Let me get a piece of tape and tape it on here. I don't know what I'm going to draw. I'm just going to kind of wing it. What am I going to draw? What am I going to draw? What am I going to draw? So everything for me is always curvy. So if I'm going to start a drawing, I'm going to kind of start it this away, immediately do some stuff on the inside. I'm going to really focus in on a small, like, little area. Okay, and I'm going to go very light. So yeah, and I'm going to get in the center line. I'm going to get some anatomy in. I'm just kind of winging it right now. Then I would cruise on down, and I don't know what I'm really drawing, but let's go down to the pelvis area, and we'll do a little full frontal nudity for you. Okay, so we'll come on down here. So when I draw the figure, I'm a kind of a little bit of a boring guy. I tend to do the same things over and over and over again because they work for me. Okay. And how do you know that your proportions are correct? That's a good question. So proportions, God, everybody's body is different. So this guy, he looks to me, I drew his head kind of small. He looks, I usually draw a 6.5 head high figure. He looks to be 7 heads tall. So let's try it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's 6 3/4. Okay. So that helps with figuring out for standing. But then you can also say for standing in pose, how do you figure out your proportions? Well, here's the top of the head. Here's the bottom of the foot. And where's the middle? Okay, right about there. You guesstimate that. So that helps. And then you just have to, human beings are just so completely different. Some have long torsos. In this photo, his torso is really dominating. But I would say his torso and his legs are kind of the same height. So a lot of it boils down to, just really looking at the model. I tend to draw people that are 6.5 heads tall. So this is how I would start. Now, I don't know what the heck pose I'm going to do here. So maybe... You see what I'm doing? I'm using all curvy line. I'm not using... Let's just kind of do a little cylinder here. I'm not using any technique. So when I draw the figure, I think of the techniques. And if you're going to learn one thing today, that's probably the key takeaway, is that when I draw, I don't always draw techniques, but I think about the techniques and I draw in my own style. Okay, my head's in the way. Let me center this a little bit more. And I'll stay for a couple more minutes, and then we'll call it a live stream. So Nancy says, I'm apparently losing whatever skill I had, but I'm not sure which technique I should be trying. So every day before you start to draw, what are you drawing? So if it's the figure, okay, one technique with the figure is that you could just simply draw a figure with the rough skeleton. Okay, so you practice rough skeletons like we talk about. Then the next technique that you would practice could be the torso peanut shape. So 3 shapes make up the pose. So maybe you're going to do something like that. And I'm going really fast. But you would go slow and you would do something like that. So this is a technique, the rough skeleton, 3 shapes make up the form. 1, 2, 3 is a technique. And then the next drawing that you do could be the angles drawing with measurements. Then the next one that you would do, Nancy, could be gesture drawing. And you try to do all of those in a short way, in about 20, 25 minutes. And then you draw in your own style. So this, like I said, would be like my own style. And let's say this is a pose on the model and stand, and I just start to draw this. Then I'd say, oh, okay, well, where's the light coming from? Wait a second, there's like a little shadow over here. And I wouldn't just do thin little light lines. I would start to shade. And I would use shading to help me get my proportions. Maybe there'd be like a little shadow over here. Maybe this would start to roll down into shadow as well. Maybe I'd put some form lines in, a couple of ribs. Maybe there's a shadow underneath the pectoralis. And now I'd start to build up my line so it's not so light. And so that's kind of how I'd start my own drawing. Let me just look at some of these questions. I have one question. If you are angry, can draw something right? Sure, why not? Use a really dark uh, pencil so you get power into the drawing if you're feeling angry. And don't draw it this way. This is just too soft and gentle. Be aggressive. Yeah, I'll put it on DTO. I'm going to finish shortly. I'm just looking at some of these questions. How do you draw if you are animating, and how do you practice for that? Okay, so that's a great question. Uh, you have to first draw everything quickly and in a loose gestural sort of way. So what I would do is find an action. So a ballerina just in 2 seconds going across the floor in a quick like little tippy toe walk, or a baseball player throwing a ball, or somebody lifting up a cup of coffee to their mouth. And you just get that 2 second movement. And then you try to do quick gestures. You could freeze frame every keyframe and just draw that. Okay. So that's how you want to practice. And you want to do a lot of gesture drawing. So a lot of people have this preconceived notion that everything they draw needs to come out of their imagination. I know animators. I speak with animators, and a lot of them will, use a live action scene and draw from that to help them get the pose. Do some of the animators draw out of their imagination? Of course they do, especially if it's a simple character. But if it's a complicated person, you might want to watch a live action sequence of a movement and then stop them at the keyframes. Okay, so Ling Yu Ma. Hey, Ling Yu. Do you have some suggestions on how to practice drawing long curved lines confidently and accurately? Yeah, so where can I do this so I don't? So scribble and do a long figure 8 and then go on top of that line. Long figure 8 and then draw on top of that same line. So you build up your finger dexterity and your touch. So that and then what we talk about on every video is scribble. This is how I loosen up. Okay, so we talked about last week, this is an angle, it's a straight line. This is an angle, that's a straight line. I don't like to draw that way, although that is a technique, right? So you can see with this torso, I'm not using a technique, but I'm still trying to draw accurately of what I think a guy torso looks like. So bottom of the rib cage, top of the rib cage, a little rib comes in. So I'm going to go over this line and make it a little bit more polished. Okay, wrap around slowly. Wrap around. Knowing the musculature. I never said that word before. I think that's like the first time I've ever said. Usually say knowing the muscles, the anatomy, helps a lot. Okay, so you see what I'm doing here? I'm just kind of cruising around the drawing. I have no idea what pose this is. And let's just put a head. So head, I just kind of suggest. And let's do some deltoids. Love deltoids. Yeah, I didn't do Marie. I was talking about this at the beginning of the video. Okay, so from memory. Yeah, around the rules on YouTube. So we're kind of keeping his privates kind of nondescript. Okay, we'll do that. So Marie, with a guy, it's just it's to me, I have a hard time talking about this. It's the same thing as a gal. The only thing that's different is no breasts. It's just rib cage. It's really the same for me. I know that's going to get me a lot of comments on YouTube, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Okay. Oh wow, there's all these comments I didn't see. I'm just looking. I'm look. Oh my God, the comments usually scroll automatically, but they didn't. So let me just work on this one a little bit. I'm just kind of screwing around out of my imagination here. So this is where now my anatomy brain kicks into gear, and also what kicks into gear is some things from Drawing from Life. So my anatomy brain is the deltoid here has three heads, front, side, and back. So I'll get a little bit of this is a crunch area where the chest muscle inserts. Okay. And I'll get his collarbone and then his deltoid. I'm sorry, trapezius right over here is a cylinder. And his other deltoid would be covered a little bit. Let me resharpen. I'm just looking. These comments are coming in. Holy Moses. Um, yes, Marie. Yeah. Yes, square bodies, round bodies. Yeah, I do the live stream. I almost didn't do the live stream today. I woke up today and I was so burned out, so fried, and I'm like, oh, you know, I just kind of wanted to go back to bed. You ever have one of those days? 10 a.m. every Saturday, New York time. Uh, but I'm glad that I did it. Now, let's do some form lines. Why do I have a shaky hand all of a sudden? I've been drawing all morning. This guy's huge, and I don't even know where I'm putting his arm, but let's just... Convex. Man, oh man. I'm going to lower this. It's weight. I'm like struggling to get to it. So in the classroom, once again, when I'm drawing with models, I'd see these little shadow shapes. So the light maybe would be coming from up above. Put some of those shadow shapes in. So this would be the model's serratus. Then a rib. We can go a little lighter over here. Gesture right. Oh God. That's a tough one for me to answer in a really short period of time. But sometimes there is no right gesture because every pose is just completely different. I know that didn't answer your question, but gestures are harder to teach than drawing in a realistic way because there's so many factors that come into play with gesture drawing. There's your style, there's the amount of time, there's what you like, there's all these different things. Okay? So let's just go to this guy's knee. So that I just did a technique when the rest of it is natural style. So I really want to just draw like a big tough guy. Hair next time. Thank you. This is a really casual live stream. I'm not doing anything crazy here today. I'll do 2 point. Well, I'm going to have to go over these comments after the video just to jot down some notes. So big neck muscles. And let's see, can I crank out? What do I preach all the time to the coaching students? I preach jawbone angles. Okay, his ear, center line. eye sockets, bottom of the nose, lip, okay, and temple. Go around the skull with the side. We'll make his neck muscle even thicker because this guy is scary. We're drawing a scary guy here. Very scary. I've seen your drawings, Dana. I really like them. Keep doing what you're doing, man. They look awesome. Yeah, Leonardo da Vinci. I've got one of his books. It's unbelievable. Yeah, a lot of traffic on this stream. I'm kind of like I'm in. Do you see the fog around my head? There's a fog around my head today. I just ate way too much food last night, and my body is like saying, "Why did you eat all that food, idiot?" Um, you got it, Aurora. Why did you eat all of that food, idiot? I don't know what I'm doing with this guy's head. Okay, so once we, and he's bald, and he has a thick, I'm going to curse. Will I get banned from YouTube for cursing? But he has a thick ass neck. Okay. Jesus. All right, so collarbones, a cylinder. So you can think of all this stuff as just form. And his ear, it looks terrible. Ear would be equal with the eyebrow. Earlobe, bottom of the nose. And the light's coming from up above. So let me, that's all we can ask in a guy is scary. Jesus. All right. Eye socket. There's a little part of the paper that will not let the pencil go into it. Okay, there we go. Finally. And that's hilarious. Light's coming from up above, so cheekbone. Jawbone, I didn't do a good job. Okay, and God almighty, my head is like in a fog. I'm getting used to the Col-Erase. Thought you were just going to say thick ass. Dion Mars. No, well, I don't know. I can't see it from this point of view. Ass isn't a swear word. Okay. All right. So let me just work on him just a little bit longer, and then we're going to call this one done. So I just want to push a little bit more complication. So lat muscle, bottom of the rib cage, oblique. I'm going to ignore the comments for a moment just to look at the drawing so I can give you guys some value here. It's neck day at the gym. Yes. Okay, so this is an important part of the drawing. Right over here, front of your pelvis. There's a V shape from there that kind of comes on down. So the rest of this would be a lot of anatomy. I don't want to turn this into an anatomy drawing. Navel. Let's be a little bit more complicated. Yeah. Okay. I think we're going to call this one a day. All right. So let's just do a quick little recap here. So this was our initial sketch. And the reason why I chose this one is because it's kind of PG for YouTube. And what I talked about was these angles, shoulder angles, elbow angles, fingertips to fingertips. So all of those angles are kind of going in the same way. And then we talked about the box. And we also talked about some surface planes, how, the guy His hips are a box, the bottom of his butt. Okay, so we have some surface planes. This starts to turn under a little bit. Okay, this is another surface plane. Bottom of the butt starts to turn under. We talked about drawing the legs together. We talked about some top to bottom measurements, connecting the feet. Okay, a lot of little things, how to get the head in proportion to the body. So I just want to see how long. Yeah, we're at an hour and 10 minutes. We're going to call this one done. So I want to thank you guys for watching me draw today and joining along and asking questions. I don't use a sketchbook because I really only draw in my studio. So I'd rather draw on big drawing pads than on a little sketchbook. But I'm pro sketchbook, as you can see from all of the sketchbook videos on my channel. So check those out, Car Ann. Nancy, thank you so much for joining. And yep, Truffs with the cameo. Craig, hey Matt, don't be sad. This was fun. I woke up after 2 hours. Paul, thanks for joining. Yeah, thanks, Paul. Keep doing your thing, man. Thank you so much, Sabi F. Lalina, thank you for joining. Get out there and draw. Joyce, thank you, Joyce. I appreciate that. Joyce Smith, Andrew T, thanks for the stream. Troy, useful demonstration. Cool. C. Morsha, fun today. Thank you. We got to be careful talking about butts and all that stuff. Okay. Wow. Carol, Marie, Jewel, Anna. Great picture, Anna, in the Hoboken article. Felice, Troy, awesome, man. Frankie J. Ronan, Ismael, Joseph, Sandy. Aura, thank you for joining. Jean Philippe, I want you to have an Italian espresso in France today for me. Okay, with a nice baguette with some butter, melted, of course. Marie, see you next week. Yeah, I'll put this on DTO. All right, guys. Good seeing you. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend. Don't forget about eating that baguette with the melted butter in France with the Italian espresso. Andres, thanks, man.